and welcome back to The Private Record. We have a very special, utterly fascinating episode for you today. I've decided I'm not going to give any details up front because I've gone through potential ways of saying the details, and I think it would sound like overly salacious and kind of crude, and I'm not really interested in that. Our guest tells the story himself, and he does a great job at it. And the most respectful way to relay that story, I believe, is to let him do it all on his own. So I'm going to let him do that. This, for me, was definitely, if not the most, absolutely one of the most interesting interviews I've done on this show, not just because of the story itself, but also because the guest telling the story just was very interesting to me. And the conversation was just kind of mind-boggling and mind-blowing in a number of ways, as you're about to find out. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to theprivaterecord.com and submit yourself and your story to be a potential guest. I'm looking forward to hearing that. And follow us on socials, Instagram, TikTok, at The Private Record. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you aren't already, you must do that, at The Private Record. Like this video and any others you may have liked. Comment on this. Definitely comment on this video. This one's utterly wild. But comment on all of them because you're supposed to. That's what you're supposed to do. And as I always say, share with your friends. It would mean the world to me. And it does mean the world to me when you do that, because that's how this show gets fans, and that's how this show continues to grow, and that's how I get to do it forever. And that's what we want. Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I had enjoyed having this conversation. It's a wild one. Talk to you soon.
Okay. I'm 27. My name's Caden. And my mom dated a guy who became a serial killer.
Well, that's about the most everybody's going to perk up at that and be like, okay, I'm listening to this entire episode glued to my seat. Okay, cool. Well, enough said, Caden. Let's get right into it. Go for it. Start wherever you want, as much context as you want. The story is yours.
Cool. So I was born in the U.S. When I was about 6 or 7, 4 or 5, we moved to Puerto Rico. My dad is he's Middle Eastern.
Okay.
So we moved out there for business. He knocked up his banker.
Oh, wow.
And had a kid.
Okay.
With her. My mom found out, so he just kind of like kicked us out.
Okay.
So we moved back to the US. You know, my mom's getting her footing. We moved in with my grandpa in his house, and she was a nurse. And one day I found all this out, you know, when I was around like 12 or 13.
Okay.
I didn't really know any of the courting, how they met, anything until afterwards. I was all like just lied to.
Got it.
You know, because I was a kid.
Fair enough.
So she apparently met a guy at work who came in to get a checkup because he was going to be working in the area.
Okay.
He just got out of jail. I didn't know for what. She didn't tell me. So they hit it off. Apparently they start, you know, talking, getting to know each other. Then it becomes serious. She introduces me and I have a younger sister, to him. And I got I don't know how to explain it. It was like an intuition kind of thing.
Okay. And how old were you at that time?
At that time, maybe 9 or 10.
Okay. So you're one of those kids that has like a sort of keen sense of just vibes. I was like that too. Yeah. So like I totally relate to that. Yeah.
Especially when you have like when your dad's not the coolest.
Okay.
You kind of, you know what I mean? You pick up on
I get that.
certain
totally
energies.
Yeah.
So, she'd take us over to like his apartment in a really sketchy area of where I live.
Okay.
That added to it, obviously. It didn't feel right. And he was just like, it was almost like he was like a tryhard. He was like trying. Like it was almost like fake, like trying to make a relationship with me.
I see. And that sort of felt scuzzy or weird to you, right?
Yeah, it put me off like a lot because I don't know. And I remember, he'd take me to like Best Buy and get me a CD of music I really wasn't supposed to be listening to.
Oh, okay.
And I would like freak out because I didn't want to get in trouble. And he would like explode. Like he'd go from this like really nice, calm, cool, collected to like call me a pussy.
Oh my God.
And yeah, like wild, but only for like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then it'd just be 5 minutes later, it'd be back to how he was.
And no addressing it or acknowledging it. He would just flip and then flip back. And that was it. That was just what it was.
Yeah. Right, yeah. Right. And I would, I'd bring it up to my mom, like, hey, I don't really like being alone with this guy. It kind of freaked me out. And she'd, confront him about it. And he'd just deny it, but in a way where he like was telling her he was doing it, but not what I'm saying.
Interesting.
Very weird. Just a weird guy.
Yeah, clearly.
And so they dated for the dates are all, it was a blur that whole time. He dated her for, I guess they were off and on for like, let's say 2 years.
Okay.
Some things happened that I don't want to get into because it didn't involve me. It involved other people. Okay. And he got picked up by parole.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he wasn't supposed to be like, he wasn't supposed to live with us because you give your address to the parole officer. That's where you live. You cannot move. You cannot leave the state. He would go to the beach with us in Jersey. And, my mom would tell me like, oh no, we can't go there. We can't go around here. And I'd ask why. I come to find out he can't get caught. Like, I guess people knew him around that area.
Got it.
So he practically lives with us. He moves a lot of his stuff in with us into my grandfather's house. That's where we're living. We retrofitted the basement. He lived, my grandpa lived in the basement. We lived upstairs.
Got it.
So it was me, my sister, my mom, and the guy. He moved all his stuff in. He tried having me call him like stepdad, which I was. Yeah. The guy gave just such weird vibes. It kind of just made me like, I didn't know what cringe meant as a kid, and that was cringe.
Got it. So he's kind of like forcing the issue, and it's awkward. And I guess the only thing, so is he scary though? Besides the outbursts, like, are you scared of him?
It's hard to say because I wasn't like, if I compared him to like my dad, I wasn't scared.
Got it. Okay.
In that sense, I just keep, this was the culmination of it all was when I was 12. Okay. So, which is 13 or however, I'm 27 now. The only things that really stand out to me that I got weird things from was his eyes. They were like bright green, almost a green that seemed unnatural.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he would like look at me, and they were almost like hypnotizing. In a way. Like a weird, yeah. And I would catch myself like, staring at him, and he would be like saying things that I wasn't even picking up on, and like I'm agreeing with them. It was very weird. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that scared me.
Yeah, that is scary. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So he's practically living with us. And then some stuff happens that I wasn't privy to, where he gets picked up. My mom, is freaking out about how she doesn't want anything to do with him. Uh, he delete his number from your phone. If he calls you, don't answer, all this stuff. So then he goes back into jail, not prison, jail.
Okay.
And he's in like the county, whatever. Yeah, it gets dark from here.
Okay. Yeah. Take your time.
He gets bailed. I forget by who. He gets bailed out. He immediately goes to a pawn shop.
Okay.
Buys a kitchen knife.
Okay.
Gets on a bus. Takes the bus to like a block away from my house. And then goes in through the back door that was unlocked that led to the basement because my pap never locked that door. And then killed my grandpa. Went upstairs, killed my great grandpa who was in his 80s, who was living with us. And then fought my mom and ended up killing her. And the neighbor heard what was going on, and he came over to help, and he killed him. And then he stole my grandpa's car and started flying,
Yeah.
And I guess he must have, hit his thigh with the knife in the fight.
Okay.
So he's losing a lot of blood in that like artery.
Yeah.
And he crashes into the pump station down the road. And the cops get him. So she technically didn't date a serial killer, but she dated a killer.
Mass murderer. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he became, I guess, a serial killer after.
Oh, what?
You know what I mean? Like he was a kid. So when he was in jail the first time.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
He killed someone when he was 18.
Oh.
Because I guess the guy came onto him.
Oh my God. Okay. Whoa, dude. Okay.
He's from the deep South. So I guess that, it doesn't fly down there.
Sure. Yeah.
But it happened here. It happened 10 miles away from me. And then he went to jail for 15, for good behavior. He got out.
Oh, so he was away for a long time then before.
Yeah, it's like whole adult life. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, man. I mean, that is tremendously brutal. First of all, I have to say that's terrible, and I'm so sorry that this happened. Did he have it in his mind that the reason he was picked back up had to do with your mother or something?
It's like multi-layered.
Okay.
Where he found out my mom, my mom like wrote him off because of the reason he got picked up and put back in jail is the part I can't get into because it doesn't involve me.
Okay.
On top of that, after that incident happened, my mom, completely cut ties with him.
Got it.
And then when he got out, I guess, you're stewing in there for 2 weeks, I guess. And, that you can't have him, nobody can kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously people hear stories like this and everybody thinks the obvious things, which is that's so terrible. They have their initial reaction like I'm having now. Right. And they just think, I think at some point they end up thinking, what must that be like for, of course, you, and anyone who cared about any of these people caught up in this horror show in any way. And there's no way to even come close to even approximating an inkling of what that would be like because it's so outside of a normal experience. So, I mean, you weren't there, I'm assuming, thankfully, correct?
So I found out after it all happened. My grandma became my guardian,
Mm-hmm.
and I forced my way into the meeting with the district attorney.
Mm.
I just annoyed the living shit out of them until they let me in.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard every detail of uh the entire event. So
Wow.
from minute one to the time I was told.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, what was your question? I'm sorry.
No, I really, I guess it really was becoming exactly what you answered. Like your experience of it, not like, how did you find out? That's not what I'm asking, but like what even from that point moving forward, what even happens to you, and so you live with your grandmother, and she has to obviously adjust to all of this as well. This is Titanic life altering event in every possible way.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you have siblings. Is that correct? We don't need to get into it
Yeah, I have
specifically.
a younger sister.
Okay, yeah. So it's the two of you, your grandmother, and this guy. I'm sorry, I was so overwhelmed when you were telling me the story. He was bleeding, but did he end up dying from the wounds?
No.
Oh,
He just
okay.
crashed the car and the Stadies got him like right away.
Okay.
Because the neighbor that came over to help, it was kind of like a connected porch. So
Okay.
he didn't have to go far. He just opened the window or the
Oh,
door, came over to the door, and the killer was like waiting,
right.
and he just hit him and then ran.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So his wife was watching
The neighbor,
this all happen.
the neighbor.
The neighbor's wife, yeah, saw it all happen. She watched her husband get stabbed. So she immediately calls.
Okay.
So the Stadies were like on it. You know what I mean? She said what car, where he's going, stuff like that. So they had his tail, and they found him, crashed into like, he hit like a tree, and then like it veered into the like pump house kind of thing.
So they got him, they lock him up. I'm assuming we can make this part as short as possible, but he obviously goes to jail for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's either in jail. I mean, this is the kind of crime you get executed for. Is this something that was possible in your state? I know you don't want to get into too many details, but
yeah. I don't think he got, I forget. I know he's out of appeals.
Okay.
So he can't get out.
Yeah. I mean,
so he's I don't think he's on death row.
Okay.
Because he keeps getting stabbed.
Oh, wow. So he's he's on a death row of its own kind.
Yeah. Dudes keep hearing about his story and they don't like him. So they keep, shanking him up.
It's interesting, the stories you hear about sort of like the codes of people, in prison. It's like, if you do certain things,
kids and women.
Right. That's what I've heard. Yeah. So he's fucked. I mean, thank goodness he is. But he's in jail for the rest of his entire life because they got him right away, and there's no question whether he did any of this stuff. Was he, not that he had to, but was it as clear as like he was just confessing all the way down the line? Like, yes, I did it. Like, was it clearly he just streamlined the process and he ended up in jail? Or was he trying to get out of it somehow?
No, it went to trial.
Oh, okay.
I remember that because, it was all over the news and stuff. It was very, it's almost like when you try to remember this stuff, it's like the most intense memory you can have, but also the blurriest at the same time.
Dude, it totally makes sense.
Like,
yeah.
The only reason, like one of the reasons I wanted to do this was because I feel like I finally, came to terms with it. And they made like books on it and movies and all this stuff. And I don't want that to be I don't want that to just be the story,
Yeah. That makes sense. What on the heels of that, when you say that, you mean you want the actual truth to be the story, or is there a version of the truth that you do want to be the story? When you say that, what do you mean exactly.
So like it's someone bought the rights to the story. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, it's weird how you do that. I can tell you a little bit about how you do that. Someone has to write something about it, right? You can get life rights to a story. Like someone in this case would come to you probably, or someone related to the scenario and say, I want to buy the rights to to tell either it from your perspective or your point of view, something like that. Or someone writes a book about it or writes an article about it, and the person who wants to make the movie or make the show or whatever goes to them and say, I want to option your article or your book. It's very weird because it's sort of arbitrary in so many ways. It's like the random person. Yeah. It's like the random person who decided, you know what, I want to write a book about that, gets to do that. And then they get to be the one that told the story. It's like, but no, the story's yours. The story's not just some random writers, but legally it is, because technically they sourced it, they researched it. They're the one that told the official story, whatever that fucking means, you know? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we tried, we contacted the guy like, hey, can you not, please?
Interesting. Yeah. What did they respond?
Like, yeah, he's just, fuck you.
Wow.
My cousins were really on board with that, trying. And they're like, fuck you. There's like a Lifetime movie, all that stuff. I don't like that kind of like it was like when the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff came out. I was like, what are you doing? Dude, like, these people are still alive.
The Dahmer thing, I feel exactly the same way as you. The sensationalizing of these things, it's almost like it's similar to Lifetime Movie of the Week kind of stuff. Right. It's like, what are we turning this into? We're turning this into this. It's like
murder porn.
Right. There's this distancing effect that like when there's a movie or show made about it, we get to distance ourselves from it because that was scripted. Those are actors. But it's like, dude, that's not made up shit though. Those are real people that really happened to. And just because they're not here anymore, so many other people that knew them, that loved them. But even if they weren't around, it's like, what? No one stops and thinks, wait a second, what are we doing? And the truth is, it's like, can't you just do a different fucking thing? There's a gazillion things you can do. Why does it have to be that?
An original thought, maybe?
Right. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. But yeah, people have this, there is this murder porn, and it comes with this wave of people's obsession with true crime stories. And but that's not, it's obviously been around even before that, people's obsession with Jack the Ripper. How many things have been made about that? It's like, and it's a weird thing because it's like, what are we doing when you really nail it down? Like, what is the point of telling so many stories about Dahmer, for instance? What are we doing? It's like at a certain point, are we glorifying this dude? Even if the filmmakers aren't trying to glorify it, aren't you still doing that in a certain way? And I
feel like people do it to get it's almost like you get a sense of it without having to live it. It's like I couldn't imagine going through that, and I get to think about it without it happening to me.
I think so.
It's like, hey, I was 12.
Yeah.
This really happened. People.
Yeah. I mean, again, as someone who has no idea, I can only imagine, but I would imagine I would feel the exact same way. It's so, and especially when you think about the ultimate goal of it, it's like ultimately it's just a capitalistic endeavor. People are just trying to make fucking money off of it.
Right.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much of a storyteller you are, how much you want to get out the word, whatever, you're making money. Full fucking stop, So it's
not like Lifetime movies are good.
No,
it's shit. It's it's like a Christmas card on the screen.
Yeah.
So you can't even claim like, artistic integrity.
Right.
It's just shit to put on for commercials.
Right. Absolutely. And the weird thing is about specifically with Lifetime movies, it's like, it doesn't matter if you do a true story. Like, who gives a shit? Just make one up, dude. No one fucking cares,
The Christmas ones aren't real.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
Every movie's the same.
People are going to watch them the same amount no matter what. So just make some shit up. Take a day, hire a writer, pay him a week's worth of time, and he'll churn something out. You know what I mean? Because it's also on top of that, it's not like they're going to tell your true story anyway.
Of course.
They're going to tell the salacious
They didn't reach
version.
out.
Right.
They didn't reach out for any
Yeah.
of it. We reached out to them and they just said, no, we got it. We got it all from the news articles. And like, yeah, all right,
Wow.
man.
Dude, the balls on someone like that. It's like, at least pretend, go through the motions, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird kind of heartlessness on display there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting back to like you and your story and the actual story, I guess is the way to put it. Whereas it's sort of interesting that there's no way to manage the story, say your grandmother. If your grandmother wanted to wait to tell you this or that or the other, it wouldn't matter because, as you said, it's on the news nonstop. It's around you. It's like you could, there was access no matter what your grandma told you, right? So it's
right.
like,
But there's like stuff that I don't know if people know this. If you never went through it first person, you won't know this, but there's stuff that can be talked about on like the news and details that can come out. And then there's a fuck ton of details that can't, because there's like some kind of, I don't know if it's a judge's decision or I think now it's out, but like during the whole trial and stuff, no one knew about the stuff that I knew about. I think it's all out now because of whatever he has no appeals or something. But there's stuff where, like, just an example. Oh, that's where we get into if I was in the house. Just for an example, they told us how many times each person got stabbed. So like that kind of detail doesn't come out right away. It'll, kind of be buried for the court because you can use that as like premeditation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask why. I mean, that's interesting though. I had never even thought of that, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So it's the stuff like that. I mean, I try to put myself in what I know now.
Yeah.
From when I was 12 and the stuff I knew then, it's no wonder why I went down the path I went to. Ultimately, it turned out okay.
Seems like
there's no wonder why you hang around certain people, you do drugs, you drink.
Yeah.
There's when you're 13 drinking and taking pills, you don't care.
Yeah.
And you deal with that for a while where you're like, I don't care, but I care,
right.
Blah, 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 blah. And then eventually gets to the point where you're just like, I'm either just going to go full bore addict.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, live on the street, or stop being a pussy, stop wallowing. I'm not saying that works for everyone, but for me, I'm like, just, go to work at least. Just go to work. And if you can make it through a day of work, you did a good thing today. Stuff like that. And then you just slowly come to grips with it all. In that meeting, they told me that my sister and my mom just got back from the beach because it was my sister's birthday. My mom got really sick because she had sun poison. So she's laying in bed. And my sister was going to a party, like a family reunion or something. And I was going to a graduation party for my buddy's like cousin. I don't know. We were just going to hang out. I found out that my sister left like a half hour before. I think he was waiting, honestly. I think he waited for us to leave. I think he saw my sister leave. So for some reason, I don't know why he did that.
Yeah.
He didn't wait for me to leave. So I was in the house. He came upstairs 5 minutes after I left.
What?
Yeah. And I didn't know. You didn't hear nothing.
Oh my God, dude.
My mom's like super sick. So she's up in her bed.
Yeah.
Puking, her skin's all blistered. And then, I leave. And 5 minutes later, there's a fight in the kit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That fucked me up for a while.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Trying to survivor's guilt stuff,
Totally. Yeah. The randomness of it can really eat at one's mind, like that 5 minutes, you can think about it so many different ways. And it truly is so hard to wrap your mind around. But sometimes it really is just random. Things really do just happen when they happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not. And that's how it fucking is. It's just like, it's so hard to really think about because there's no way to really hammer it down and get an answer. There is no why, you know?
Right.
So yeah, you talked about the path you went down at 12 and I feel like because of you, as you said, you're doing okay now. It's like, it's worth sort of talking about at least a little bit. Like you mentioned drinking and drugs, like how quickly and what did that look like you turning towards that and just in the immediate aftermath to like the sort of intermediate aftermath, like what was that
Sure.
like for you?
So obviously there was a lot of blood everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to get like cleaners to come in and
Mm-hmm.
like rip up carpets. They confiscated all of our communication devices.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a bare bones house. And we had nowhere else to live, so we had to live in the house.
Yeah, geez.
So I think the cops like or like the state or someone like redid the carpets for us. And anything that like took, it's like my computer got taken, so I got to get a computer, but like there's a lot of stuff that just has to get thrown out. So me and my sister and my grandma live in the same house. It's obviously like you're trying to deal with it all.
Yeah.
So there's no like separation.
Well, that's the thing.
Like,
being
like
in this space is so intense sounding. Like literally remaining where it happened is just, it's almost utterly unimaginable. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're trying to you're not only trying to process what happened, you're trying to process what your future is going to be. You're trying to process how relationships you already have with the people that are still alive, how they're going to become. So like me and my sister would fight constantly. And then, I would just leave the house. I didn't want to be in there.
Yeah.
So I would go down to like there's like a shitty part of town and then like a nice part of town. And I would go to the shitty part and play basketball with my friends. And there's always like weird dudes down at the fucking basketball court, like 30-year-olds who hang out with kids. I still don't get that to this day, but they're there. They don't have jobs, I guess. And the one dude had pills and, he had beers and pills. And he's like, you want a beer? And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Drink it. I'm like, oh, this tastes great.
Right.
It feels like, just feels good because you're 12.
Right.
And then he gives me a pill. I don't know what it was. And I take it and, you get fucked. I'm guessing it was like Percocet, some kind of pain pill, muscle relax or something. And then you just you like that feeling. So it's just like everyone else. You just want that bad shit to go away.
Yeah.
So I was like that. It was never to the point where I did, heroin or I never did coke. I don't think. Yeah, it was just weed, pills, a lot of drinking, because I still knew, like, you're like, my mom wouldn't want this.
Right.
I still had that wherewithal, so it kind of kept me from really going bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just hang out with bad kids then, and then your family's accusing you of doing drugs, and you're like, I'm not, and you are.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's just turns into a shit show.
Yeah.
And then it never got to the point where I like, I never did anything like violent or I wanted to, but I never did anything. I never, just like a kid, but with the added effect of drinking all the time. And then the one night I get woken up by my cousin, and she's freaking out, she's like screaming, and I'm like, what the fuck what are you doing? What is going on? It's like 3 a.m. I run downstairs. I go to run downstairs, and she like grabs me and like bear hugs me from going downstairs. And I'm like, tell me what's going on. What the fuck's happening? What? My fucking sister and grandma are sleeping on the couches. We had like, 2 couches connected like an L. My sister's on one, my grandma's on the other. My sister said she woke up in the middle of the night just out of the blue and like looked over at my grandma, and she was like dying. Like she just was like grabbing and she died. So the coroner or whatever, there was no like real cause of death. They said it was like broken heart.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I count that
right
to his, I mean, I count that one.
And how long
so
how long after the incident was that?
That was 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
So I was about 14. And then that's when a lot of the stuff that I still grapple with happened, because my family just couldn't deal with it all. So they just auctioned like everything we had off. Jewelry, mementos. I got to take like 5 things.
Wow.
And the whole house got emptied. The house got sold. And then I bounced around a lot. My sister and I bounced around a lot, but not together. Between family, like houses and stuff. And I ended up fighting to go live with my mom's best friend. She's like an aunt. So I fought and fought and fought. Finally got to go with her.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And yeah, my sister got stuck with some, shitty family members. And she got the rougher end of the stick.
Yeah.
But I got put into, it was like no nonsense, in the sense of like, if you fuck up, it's your ass, you know?
Yeah.
Like you gotta accept it. You gotta go to school. If you don't go to school, you go to work.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude. And I needed that, because it got me out of my mentality coming out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, life, the craziest thing amid a tragedy, amid a life-altering event like that, is that life just doesn't fucking stop. It keeps going, and it's up to you as to whether you're going to keep going with it. And, it sounds like you fucking did, which is honestly, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. That is fucking incredible, dude. You're at an age where like, dude, when I think about myself at 12, 13, 14, it is the most like, and I think about this a lot actually, that those years are most imprinted on me. Just the shit I encountered in the world. It's when like my taste was sort of shaped. It's when I really came into myself and understood like what I liked, what I didn't like, what kind of person I was, and then to have what happened to you happen, are there any like in that sort of period of your life from the tragedy in the next couple of years, including, when your grandma passed, like, are there any things that are like almost weirdly or uniquely imprinted on your mind? Like, whether even if it's just like a flash of a moment, because life is so weird. And when I think of like, why do I think about this one weird thing that happened to me when I was 13 or whatever? I think about it all the time, but almost every single moment of every single day is completely gone from my memory. Like, are there any things like that for you from that period?
Yeah. That's one of the things that when I listen to like you and Chris talk, when you guys are like pick up on something that's like so fucking mundane, but it's so vivid.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'd never heard someone else who does that. Maybe I just didn't ask, but so it's hard because, everyone says they have anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Right. Yeah, totally.
It's like a fad now.
Absolutely.
I get flashbacks to certain times when I either feel the most unsafe or the most safe.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
in childhood. So like I'll get a flashback where I'm with my grandpa and we're at like a car meet. You know, he liked classic cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get like the smell of the grass, the feeling of the sun, what I'm eating, like everything. And then on the other hand, you get the worst gut feeling ever. There's little things, you know, like I had a lot of friends, so there's so many stories of shit like me and my friends will still joke about. And that really helps because it's like, oh, I was just, you know, a normal kid. Like we have like little sayings or
right.
things we did and shit that people don't believe that happened.
Yeah.
But they'll, you know, I look back now and I am grateful to all the people around me, even the bad ones, because I almost don't feel like I relate to anyone, but I feel like I can help, you know, coworkers, friends with shit they're going through. Cause it's like, yeah, dude, it's not the end of the fucking world, man.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
just, you can get through it. It's fine. You're
Yeah.
fine. And that really helps me. It's like acts of service kind of stuff.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like, just thinking about what you just said, do you find yourself like when people are going through something, you know, everything's relative and it makes sense, obviously, if people only know their own experience, but like when someone's going through something, then they're acting like it's the worst fucking thing that ever happened. It's the end of the world. Are you like kind of roll your eyes at that shit? Like, I mean, you must. I mean, how could you fucking not?
Like the food's not hot enough. I'm sending it back. Just fucking eat it. Just eat it. That's a big, you know, that's a big problem with relationships, friendships, work relationships. Cause I'm just like, just grit it, bear it, and it'll be fine.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. Do you like, I guess, speaking of relationships, friendships, relationships, whatever, like, is this something that everyone who knows you knows? Do you talk about it? Do you like let people know? Like, do you like to not let people, like, do you have like a way that you are about it generally that you let lead sort of whether you inform people or not?
That's a good question, because that was a big problem where from the town I'm in, my mom was really, you know, she like did stuff at the school, PTA. She was very involved. And we went to like Disney World twice. Both times we went to Disney World, she knew someone in the line.
Wow.
Just
what?
Like,
wow.
Oh, hey. Yeah. Niagara Falls, same thing. Like anywhere we went, my mom knew someone there that they went to high school or whatever. So in my town, nothing happens there. The occasional kid overdoses or whatever, but that's really it. This was the first like murder since like there was a big dude who owned a grocery store that got murdered in the 80s. That was like the last big thing.
Right.
So in the town proper, yeah, it was, everyone knew me, everyone knew my last name. People look at you, you know, you're walking and people just look at you and they know you, which fucking geeked me out.
Yeah.
So I would just be up front, you know, when I was younger. I would just be up front. Like people would say like a your mom joke.
Oh.
And I'd be like, well, you better grab a shovel because, you know, you're going to have to get her.
Right. Yeah.
And I would turn stuff into like funny or just divert it because I didn't want to feel it. So I would get in front of it and fuck with it. I dated someone who I went to school with when I was, you know, 23. And it was like hard.
Yeah.
That played a big thing into it. And now the woman I'm with now she's not from here. She's from like an hour away. Her parents moved up here. a couple years ago, and she didn't know anything about it.
Mm.
So when I met her, I could just be myself.
Yeah.
She's honestly helped me. She's one of the greatest people I've ever met, and really like means the world to me.
That's amazing.
She's helped me through a lot of the stuff, but in the beginning, I wasn't forward with it. I just, I said, oh, that's my mom, oh, that's my stepdad, whatever. I call the woman who adopted me has kids. I just call them my siblings, She didn't know anything about it. A couple months in, I told her just because I thought, it was time. She knew.
No way.
Yeah, she knew because her parents knew.
Oh, okay. Wow. And so she just never wanted to bring it up because if you didn't bring it up, she didn't want to say anything to upset you if you didn't want to talk about it.
She wanted to see. I asked her, I'm like, why didn't you tell me? She's like, I just wanted to see who you were. I don't.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter, and that really, it hit me where I'm like, oh, I'm not just this moment.
Yeah.
I am a totally different person from then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what a great experience to have gone through. I mean, that sounds like a very integral, important thing to have experienced. And it's not something you probably had ever thought about being a key thing to happen, but that's so great that you got to experience it that way. Like, that's amazing. Actually, I didn't even bring it up throughout this whole time because it kind of slipped through my mind, but like, what about your dad in all of this? Like, just off in Puerto Rico, just not giving a fuck over in Puerto Rico, or what?
Pretty much. So when I was a kid, I don't think, man, when I was a kid, he would like come to the States and not tell us.
Oh,
because he would just like, go visit friends.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. You're just a pawn when your parents are divorced like that. So, he tried to like take me out of school once to take me back to Puerto Rico.
Oh, wow.
And I was like going with them until, the people stopped him. But
right. Wow.
He would like come and visit after the murders happened. He would like come and, check up on us. I remember at the funeral, he like made sure we were okay. He asked us who we're with.
Right.
He asked around, he made sure everything was okay that in that sense. And then after that, he would, every like, maybe like 6 months, he would come and visit me and my sister both. And, but I always got the sense it was for something else. Like he was doing something else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, well, I'll see my
sure.
kids.
Yeah. If I'm here, I might as well.
Right? Might as well see these fucking brats. But, he just stopped coming. We went over to visit once. I haven't seen him in, I don't know, maybe maybe like 15 years.
Okay.
No, I can't be 15 at the time, whatever. I haven't seen him since maybe like 16.
Okay. Yeah. About a little over a decade
10 years.
Then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're close with your sister still and always were, or has that been fluctuating kind of?
Yeah, it's rough. Because she looks like my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't look like, my dad's full Syrian.
Okay.
I don't look Syrian really.
You don't look Syrian at all. Yeah.
No, my sister looks, she's got the eyes and the hair and the darker skin. So when I look at her, I kind of like see my mom and my dad, and it like fucks with me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like contentious. I check up on her. I see her every so often. Yeah, I'm really close with my other sister. She's got kids, and I go over there. My nephews, they really help me a lot. So like we'll all get together at like her house. So we'll all kind of see each other. Never really one-on-one because it's just like too rough,
That's really interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's why I asked, to have gone through something together, so to speak, at such a young age, and then to live the years subsequent, it has to be just so fucking loaded and intense. And it makes sense that it would be strained almost through the fault of no one,
Exactly.
Yeah, right. It's like, it doesn't even have to be someone's fault. It's just when something's so loaded, it's easier to just be like, I'm just not gonna see that person. It's too much. Yeah.
Well, there was a while where we just, didn't talk, and now she's grown up.
Mhm.
It's more of an equal playing field.
Right,
Like
right.
she has a job, she's got an apartment, she's doing good. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you got your shit together. Like,
Yeah.
can we talk like adults now?
Right.
Which is good.
Something I wanted to ask you, but I want to preface it before I ask. Obviously, when you don't want to give details, my initial and lasting feeling about that is, great, we're not going to give those details. Period, full stop. So I'm not asking about the details. What I'm curious about is, do you have a sense of where that comes from? You're not wanting to give certain details, because I'm sure people will watch this, listen to this, and be like, oh, but I want to know that. Oh, but I want to know that. Totally understandable. Everybody wants to know details of a story they're listening to, but that's up to you. Putting that aside, what I'm curious about is, what is your, where does your compass come from about what details you don't want to talk about and what details you are willing to talk about? Like, not wanting to give names, not wanting to give certain details. What is that for you?
Well, first off, it might come off weird since I'm on a podcast, but I don't like attention.
I totally
don't want
get that.
attention, good or bad. I don't need it.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So that's a part of it. It's
Okay.
like, I'm not like, look at me.
Sure. Yeah.
Shitty life. The second part is because it involves so many people. Your business is your business. I don't want to say anything that would hurt anyone that they didn't want out. So I only said to myself, I'll talk about this from my eyes. And if other people want to talk about it, they're willing. I don't care what you say about me.
Right.
But I didn't get express permission. I don't know where that comes from. It's just a thing I live by, because I've seen people, run their mouth and stuff happens. So yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, you've also had people tell the story of what happened to your fucking mother with zero regard for you or anyone else in her family who was close to her. So it makes sense that it would be something you're sensitive to, and it shapes you as an adult now. That totally makes sense. Fuck, who am I to say what's a good or not good reason? But that does sound like a good reason to me. Yeah.
And the other thing is, there's so many things written about it. If you really were that person that wanted to, that's why I said don't look up the guy's name. If you type that name in, it's just article after article after article. You can find it easily. So if someone's just a cursory listener and they're just putting it on, listening to it, they're not very into it or whatever, they just want to hear a podcast, great. You get this story. If you really want to know, you can find out if you want. Like, go ahead, but don't talk to me.
Right.
Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, fucking A, man. You're here. You seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, I got a job. Good job. A house. Good woman. I don't know what else you can ask for.
Yeah, really.
Health.
You mentioned, that's amazing. You mentioned, or maybe you didn't, I was unclear about this. You stayed living in the general area, correct?
Yeah, like 2 streets down.
2 streets down from where it fucking happened?
Yeah, I would walk past it every way to go to school.
And as an adult now, too?
Now I moved like 15 minutes out.
Okay. And did you ever consider just get me the fuck out of here? I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
And what stopped you?
I believe every time there's bad, there's good, and vice versa. So yeah, a lot of bad happened there, but a lot of good too. And if I would just run from it, I don't think it would change anything. So now I've gotten past a lot of the bad. So now it's just kind of filled with a lot of good. So it's over there, you know, it's 15 minutes away. All my family, no one really leaves in my family. They just put the roots down and stay. So if I really want to see anyone, I can just, you know, it's a 10-minute drive.
Yeah. Well, that's fucking well put. That's as good a place to end as any. If there's anything else you want to share, absolutely do it. But I mean, geez, this crazy story, wild story, beyond wild and crazy. That's just like I said at the very beginning, it's like these are the kinds of things that when you hear the story, you just think, holy fucking shit, what would I do? And I think it's a natural thing for humans to do that. It's not like they're being particularly selfish, but all they know is themselves and their own lives. So of course they're going to think about it through their own lens. It's all they can relate to, you know, but it's just,
it's almost come cliche today, but that's probably the biggest thing I'll say I got out of this is I look at people a lot differently. You know, I try my hardest. I got a temper, but I try my hardest to lead with love because I don't know what the fuck happened to you.
Right. You don't know what they've been through.
When people treat me like shit or get angry at me, I go, you're hurt, man. Like, deal with your shit.
Right.
Stop. Just fix your shit and you won't be an asshole. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're getting into an argument at the grocery store, whatever it is, just take one. I take little seconds of my day and just go like, stop.
Yeah.
Suck up your pride, shut the fuck up, move on, work with this person.
Yeah.
And that has helped me immensely in life in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. The take a deep breath thing, sounds cliche as well, but that's real too. It's just like, dude, all you need is that 1 second. You'll put a lid on it and you'll be fine. But it's when you don't check it, you don't check in or check yourself, so to speak, you fly the fuck off the handle and it just gets worse and worse and worse from there. But yeah, man, I mean, well put. And everything well put. I don't think you've told this story very often, but you're good at talking about it. So wherever that comes from, good for you. And honestly, thank you for telling it to me and sharing it. I know you don't like the attention and don't like all that shit, but like, I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the whole show, the whole thing you're doing, letting people talk who might feel like they can't talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it just feels good to get it off your chest and just hear different perspectives. So I really appreciate you making the show.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Thanks again for coming on. We'll be in touch. I know, of course, we'll let you know when it's going to come out, and we'll be in touch about any kind of anonymity stuff as well to make sure you're happy with it. Okay.
Okay, man. Thank you.
All right. Talk soon.